hour, what I want to do is find out what you want to know. Before we do that, I'm going to give you some framing, because my role as a voice coach allows me to hear so many questions from people about what they struggle with vocally. And when I started out in this game about, 20 years ago, I remember thinking, when I stand up on stage, everybody's looking at me. I don't have control of my voice. It shakes. I feel uncomfortable. I feel I have no presence. When I started out at drama school, they said, you have no presence. They said, your voice is stuck in your chest. They said, you're in your head. And I remember all of those bits of feedback. And I remember thinking, there is nothing I can do to change that. That's just me. Now, over the last 20 years, what I've learned is that the voice is just so malleable. And if someone says to you, you have no presence, if they say you have no gravitas, if they say your voice is too thin, your voice is too fast, I can't hear you, I can't understand you, all the stuff that people say to us about voices, that is all something that you can change. Because learning to speak well is a bit like learning to drive. It's just a really practical toolkit. And I hear every day from people who tell me all the kind of worries they have. You know, questions come, why do I lose my voice? Why do I get tired on Zoom? What is it that makes me feel nervous when I speak? Why can't I ask a question? Why do I speak too fast? People tell me that I too much. And there's just this world of pain that people have about speaking. But I see that people can overcome those issues really quickly. I was working with a girl a couple of weeks ago who had to do loads of Zoom calls. And her boss had said to her, you don't have enough gravitas, which is a bit daunting, isn't it, when someone says that and you have to suddenly speak to the boss on Zoom. And so what we did, it was so simple. Are you all on laptops right now? I just want you to notice the height of your laptop. We'll start with something really practical. I'm going to see if I can see more of you. Let's go. If I pin, there we go. So can I get you all just to get a book? If everybody is near a bookshelf, which we tend to be on Zoom, can you get a couple of thick books? This is the first thing I did with her. Okay. And can you put the thick books underneath your laptop? If you're on a PC, don't worry. You're probably at a good height already. Okay, so I want your laptop at eye level. Up. That's it, good. That's the first thing I did with her. And notice I can see, who am I looking at? Tamsin, I can see your screen. And you notice how suddenly with your laptop up, you're sitting up differently. And let's have another look. Yeah, Sylvia, what happens if we just angle your screen down a bit? There we go. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Nice and aligned. Alison, I can see your screen. What if you angle the screen a bit down towards you? There we, maybe a bit more, and then bring yourself really center stage of the screen if you can. So the first thing I did with her was to set the stage. Now, voice experts on the call, why would the height of your laptop matter to the quality of your voice? Let's go to the chat. Unless people want to unmute themselves, if you want to be confident and unmute yourself, you can suggest to me why the position of your laptop would help your voice.
Because you're sitting up straighter.
Exactly.
So your chest is open.
And your name is, sorry, I can't. Kimberly.
Kimlin. Sorry, I'll change the.
Kimlin, brilliant. Oh, it says Charleston dance parties. That sounds super fun. So you're a dancer, so you get this. Yeah, so why would the height of, you know, your laptop and ergo your posture be so important for your voice? Tell me why, and anybody can. How does the voice work?
The posture affects the breathing?
Yes. Good one, Ed, thank you. Because what is voice? What is voice?
Vocal vibrations.
It's vibration, thank you, Tatiana, and it's exhaled air. So the voice is like a guitar. The air comes out of the lungs, it hits the larynx, and you can all just put your hands on your larynxes there, just behind your Adam's apple, it's tucked away. The voice hits your larynx, rather the air hits your larynx and it vibrates. And our skull, really everything above the larynx is the body of the guitar, but to some extent the rest of your skeleton is also the body of the guitar. So let's all go back to bad posture. I don't like to make judgment calls, but let's just go back and let's slump forward, because this is what she was doing on her calls. And let's just say the days of the week. You know, imagine you've had a bad day, stick your head forward. Monday, Tuesday, can we all say it together? Monday, all together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Any language.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Put a hand on where you feel your voice is. So I feel mine kind of there when I'm hunched. And then, straighten up. But so many people, because we're used to hunching over laptops. My husband, right, trained actor, now works as an engineer, should know about this. But I see him every day hunched over a laptop at the kitchen table. And that cuts off your voice because it cuts off that nice airflow. You put a bottleneck in the system. So the first thing I said to this girl, young woman, is, I sound ancient, is to put your laptop on 2 books, set the stage. And then I said to her, now find a point outside your window. So I don't know if you can all see something outside or beyond. It might be a painting on the wall. And imagine that when you speak, you're sending your voice out beyond your laptop screen, even as you look at the camera. So can we do that one more time, this days of the week? So nice aligned posture, think ears over shoulders. I had a Pilates class this morning and she told me off for my head neck. So I'm still working on this too, by the way. And then just find a point out beyond your laptop screen. And let's take a hand. Can everybody take a hand? You've all got one there, hopefully. And then just pull with your hand from that distance as we say Monday. Monday.
Monday.
Monday.
Other hand, Tuesday. Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Days of the week. Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Thursday.
Thursday.
Friday.
Friday.
Saturday.
Sunday.
Sunday. She had a lovely wisteria outside of her. So she said to me, right, I'm going to set my stage, I'm going to set my laptop up, I'm going to sit up tall, and I'm going to talk to the wisteria. And just those 2 really simple things made a big difference to her voice and her confidence, because when we sit up tall, we feel more confident. And when our voice fills the room in a different way, even on camera, it matters on camera too, we own the Zoom, we own the room. So those are my little 2, they're really a bit of a warm-up to play with, because the voice is exhaled air. And when you sit up, when you project, suddenly your voice kicks in. But I would really love to learn what you want. So we can talk about Zoom calls, we can talk about video conferencing, we might talk about public speaking, because sooner or later we're going to be back on real stages. Or we can talk about just using your voice in normal life as well. So if you have a burning question, feel free either to put it in the chat, or you could raise a hand. And I know, Antonia, you're going to facilitate the questions, aren't you? Is that still?
I am. I'm going to keep an eye on them just so you can sort of really concentrate, and then I'll be with me to stop every so often. I'll gather them together for everyone.
Perfect. So feel free now just to give yourself a moment to write down any questions in the chat, and we'll have a look, because I do think it's nice to make these interactive. Just rearranging my microphone, Sylvia. Oh, that's a good one. How to overcome nerves and how to overcome as it were. Excellent. Oh, that's a good list already. Right, well, let's start to think, and feel free to add them as we go. So let's start with, I think how to overcome nerves is a really good place to start, actually. Is there anybody on this call who has never felt nervous before a presentation? Just say never felt nervous in the chat if you have. And I think it's unlikely that we will get anyone, because when I wrote my first book in 2008, I interviewed A-list actors about confidence. And when I started to talk to them, I was kind of convinced that they would be more confident than normal human beings. And it turns out that that was absolutely not the case, that all of them got nervous, every single one. And that gave me a real sense of confidence, because I'd heard from Helen Mirren that she got nervous in the bar after a play when she had to talk to people. I'd heard from Kate Winslet that she got nervous in auditions, you know, and so I thought, if those people who are paid to be confident get nervous, then it's okay for all of us. And in my working life, I hear from people who professionally look really confident how nervous they get. So here's the rule: nerves are normal, they show you care. And in fact, if you don't get nervous, that's a bad sign, because it shows that you don't care. And if you don't care, you shouldn't be doing it. But we've got to be able to handle nerves, haven't we? So the first thing to say, and this is even more important when we're on video calls, is that you are going to be nervous if you don't give yourself quiet time before you go live or before you step on a stage. And this is something that actors learn deeply, that before you walk out on stage, you've spent maybe half an hour just thinking about breath, body, getting yourself centered, getting yourself grounded. So what I would say to all of you is that for the moment, because we're on video conference, if you have an important meeting, just take time before that meeting to go for a walk in the garden, or sit on your most comfortable chair and just feel your breath coming in and out. Feel your feet on the floor. Definitely turn off your phone, turn off the alerts, don't check your email, just come back to your body. Because there's something that happens to our system when we're hit with adrenaline. And our system decides, are these people friends or are they foes? If your system is a bit adrenal, if your head is forward because you're staring at a screen, if your shoulders are hunched, if someone at work has sent you a stressful email, then when that adrenaline meets your system decides these people are foes. And that's when we speak too fast. That's when that's when our voice gets too shaky. That's when we react to things that people are saying a bit defensively, a bit aggressively. And you can steward your nervous system out of that foe response into the friend response simply by doing a few things. Sit up, like we've talked about. Focus on your breathing. Think about a long, relaxed out breath. And think about the people you're talking to as old friends. It's called loving kindness in meditation, but it has a really, really good impact on your nervous system. And then what you start to find, if you look after, if you steward your own nervous system, is that when you step out in front of an audience, they don't feel so threatening because you're in charge of how you perceive them. Now, whose question was that? Because I just want to check in. Kim Lynn, can I check in with you? Where are you?
Yeah.
Can I ask, where do you feel nerves in particular?
In my heart and probably in my chest.
And is it when you're talking to a live audience, or is it as much on video conference?
I was thinking more about standing up in front of a group of people, which I've had to do before. I always get really nervous and it affects my voice. Yeah.
And so you feel it in your heart, and what happens to your voice? Does your voice shake?
I think so, yeah. Just it's harder to be as loud, or it's hard to project and do everything you think you know how to do.
And when you work on a script, do you learn it? How do you work on the words when you have to speak to an audience?
I haven't done any public speaking for a while, actually. I was just thinking of having to talk to people I found intimidating, like a head teachers conference. So what you're saying about treating people as friends rather than foe, they could be incredibly rude. You could see people, I think it's when you see people reacting and they're just chatting amongst themselves and you think, oh no, I've lost them.
Yes.
So it's partly what you say in your head.
So much. That I love what Kim Lynn has just said there, because so much of how we perceive public speaking is about the stories we tell ourselves in our brains. And we all have good days and bad days. But what I've learned over the years is that if I want to have a good day, even on a day where I might have been having a bad day, if that makes sense, I need to do a bit of yoga, not for long, just a bit. It really helps me to sing, and I'm not tuneful at all. And it really helps me to think this key thought, which is partly the idea of talk to old friends, which we've talked about. But the other thing, if I'm feeling a bit on edge or nervous, I think, how can I help? And that's the Bill Nye tip. You know Bill Nye, the actor with glasses? And it's such a great tip to flip your nervous system from, oh my God, these people are foes, this is horrible, which is what you're describing, Kim Lynn, to friends, because your system loves to be in service to others. That's just how we work as human beings. So if you can think, how can I help these head teachers? What would you be talking to them about? Or are you a head teacher?
I'm not, no. But I was coming from an arts background at the time and then trying to talk to them about what we were doing in the arts.
So the question for you would be, how can I help these heads to understand what we're doing in the arts? Blooming important, I would say. More important than ever. And that then lets go of, what are they thinking? Are they judging me? Because you're thinking, how can I help them understand what we're doing so that they can take it back into their schools? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I wanted to be inspiring and I didn't feel like I was being very inspiring. It's like suddenly you feel nervous and you think, oh God, I'm not, being big enough, or yeah.
And it's so interesting because in a way, we're not the right person to assess whether we're being inspiring or not. The best thing to do is just go camera out. How can I help these people understand what we're doing? And get really into your purpose, into your why, all of those things. And then forget Kim Lynn. My aim in this kind of session is to forget Caroline, because, she's not that interesting. The thing that's interesting is what she knows and how that helps people. And the more we it's flow, it's a flow state. The more we are able to be self-forgetful, the more we hit our charisma. And so that's the paradox. If I think I'm going to be really charismatic now, then it becomes that slightly weird self-conscious energy, which is blocked. And so the best thing we can do in speaking is just to let go of how we think we're showing up and just be in service. Let's have a list, actually, of people you like as speakers. I think, Brené Brown at the moment is my complete idol. I think she's awesome. But let's go into the chat and just give me some names of people who you think are really good speakers out there. I'm thinking we probably won't get many politicians right now in the current, although we like just doing well, isn't she? We have a few names of people. Oh, Hannah Fry, yes. Michelle Obama, yes. Viv, yeah, we love Viv. The Obamas.
Vanessa Feltz.
Say that again, sorry.
Vanessa Feltz.
Oh, Vanessa Feltz, yeah, she's got power, hasn't she? She's got welly. If you think about all of those people, yeah, we've got a lot of Michelle going on here. All of those people. Now, Hannah Fry, tell me about Hannah Fry. I know that name. Is she a mathematician? Ed, tell me.
Yeah, she is, and she presents TV shows, and she presented the Royal Institution Christmas lectures in late December last year.
I'll have a look. I think I've read her book, because she simplifies maths for people like me, doesn't she? Which is good. So let's think about all of those people. Keir, yeah, I think he's doing well, isn't he? Reverend Al Sharpton, I'll check out. I haven't seen him speak. Jim Comey. Les, tell me about...
Yeah, I mentioned him because when he talks, he's so driven by his virtue. He talks about a reservoir of faith, and it comes through in the way he talks. If you listen to his audio book and the way he talks, he's obviously left now because of Trump, but everything he says is driven by passion and a belief in what he's doing is right.
And that's a really good point. So can you hear and can you see from this list that the people you admire as speakers are not necessarily perfect? They may be polished, what inspires you about them is their connection to purpose. And the fact that when they get on a stage, they're talking about something that really matters. So Kim Lin, you've put a nurse on a program about COVID, you know, because her purpose or his purpose was really straightforward. So when you prep for any kind of presentation that is making you nervous, the first thing to ask yourself is, what's the audience's problem? What's the pain space? Anybody who sells knows this structure. You start with the pain, because when you sell well, you're in service, basically. And then once you've thought about your pain, you think about that Bill Nye question, how can I help? And then you structure a presentation that helps them. And then when you stand on stage or when you show up on camera, you're going to be passionate, you're going to be purposeful, and you know what? Your charisma will probably come through. It's also worth saying, if it's content you haven't said before, practice, rehearse. So Kim Lin, I want to move on, but does that make sense for you as a toolkit? Now in the book, she said, because it's you, I always want to point people to more. There is a whole section in the book called Find Your Calm Center. That chapter is your chapter. And also there's a chapter called Speak Up and Stand Out, which is all about contributing and not competing. That probably doesn't work because it'll be backwards, I would imagine. Good. So you've got some thumbs up there. Excellent.
Caroline,
So,
we've got a couple of questions about umming and ahhing, if you're ready to go. So that's from Caroline and Mubashir. So what she says, umming and ahhing. Any steps?
Now it's worth saying that I once did a Radio 4 show with Michael Rosen, which was all about ums and ahs. And they didn't cut the you know, and they normally edit out the ums and ahs, and they didn't. And of course, we were all talking about ums and ahs and umming and ahhing the whole time. Because we do. Why do we What's it about? What's the purpose of an Has anybody thought about their ums?
Giving us time to think.
Thinking time.
Yeah, exactly. Time to think. So in some ways, I'm saying learn to love them. And that's all very well if you're in conversation, if you're chatting informally. Where are ums and ahs not so good? Where don't we want them? And maybe I should hand this to Caroline. So Caroline, can I check with you where you don't like your ums? Oh, I can't. We're gonna. Can I? Do I unmute Caroline, or should she unmute? Oh, there you go.
I think it's when I'm talking and I've frozen, and I've gone blank for a minute.
Yeah, good one. And I hear that one a lot.
Yeah.
So this is about breathing. Oh. Let's go back to how the voice works. So the voice is exhaled air. What's a pause then? What's a pause?
Breathing.
It's an in-breath. And we can't speak out again if we hold our breath. What we often do, so if I do a bit of umming, you know, and I do this sometimes. So hi, I'm Caroline, and we're going to be talking about the voice. And what I'm starting to do is hold my breath because I'm umming in my pauses. And if I'm umming in my pauses, I'm not letting a nice in-breath come in. So my system starts to get a bit like, oh my God, this is a bit scary. And my audience don't have time to take in the previous thought. So there's a really simple antidote to ums, which is this. Can I all invite you just for a moment to close your mouths if they're not already closed? They probably are, let's face it. And then let's breathe out through our noses. Wait for the breath in through the nose. Then say Monday, Monday.
Monday.
Then breathe in through the nose. Tuesday.
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 Then we're going to say Wednesday, Thursday.
Wednesday, Thursday.
Wednesday, Thursday.
Wednesday, Thursday.
Let's keep going. Now we're going to say Friday, Saturday, same way.
Friday, Saturday.
Friday, Saturday.
And now we're going to do Friday, Saturday, Sunday on one breath. So let the breath come in through the nose. Friday.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Saturday, Sunday.
Good. Now we're going to do the days of the week This time, when we get to Wednesday, we're going to close our mouths and we're going to breathe in through our noses. Okay, so first rule, breathe out before you do anything else. Let the breath go. Wait for the breath in. Monday,
Tuesday, Wednesday,
Wednesday,
Thursday,
Thursday,
Friday,
Saturday,
Sunday. So why this works is really simple, isn't it? If your mouth is closed, you can't And if you consciously take in air through the nose, you are refueling the voice, refueling your system, telling yourself you're safe. So the next time you notice yourself umming, particularly Caroline, because this was your question, what could you do instead of umming?
Shut my mouth.
Yes, and remember to breathe, because the thing that nervous speakers do when they get nervous is when they pause, they hold their breath. And it's like a brace. So close your mouth and imagine your favorite smell. What's your favorite smell, Caroline?
Lavender.
Yes. So close your mouth and then imagine lovely lavender. There's probably some in the garden right now. And you can do that. Sorry.
Calm down, don't you?
Yeah, instantly. And, you know, I used to get really nervous about speaking, but when you know you can smell the lavender on every full stop, it's fine because you're safe. It's worth practicing. That's what I would say, though. This is the thing to practice, you know, in the comfort of your own home. Maybe put yourself on voice notes, listen for the pauses, just check it sounds right to you, and then put it on the road. But it's just as good for Zoom calls or any other platform. I'm not particularly pro Zoom. It's because it allows us to stop, pause, and then if someone else wants to speak, the audio can flip to them. If we all speak too fast, then the audio just jumps about because there's only one audio and that you get a bottleneck if you're not careful. Good.
Caroline, just expanding on that one, Adrian asks whether ums give the listener time to think as well. He's wondering where the comprehension goes down if there's no natural pauses in speech.
Yeah, good question. Ums, I think, if I think about when I listen to someone, if there's a few ums and they're thinking, then actually that's fine. When the ums become distracting is when they're repetitive, when they're a nervous tick, and then we start to just listen to the ums, and then we stop listening to the person. But my sense is that most good speakers package up their speech into neat little packages, which are separated by a pause. And the only thing to say about those pauses is they need to be relaxed, because if the speaker's holding their breath, then you get a bit worried about them. But go online, listen to those speakers that you love, notice their pauses, notice whether they close their mouths, notice how much they and find your own version of that. Because the truth is there's no set rule. We all like different people, but broadly, cut them if they are a tick. Cut them if they're a comfort blanket. Sometimes if you're thinking, they're fine. Does that help, Caroline? Play with that lavender.
Caroline, moving on to expand from that one as well, there's a couple sort of technical questions about voice and then also pace. So I'm thinking Les was asking about how you relax a tight voice, and Isabel's also wondering about diaphragm breathing, and I imagine that will then tie into the pacing questions coming up. Yes, lovely. So Les, can I find out a bit about your voice? Would you mind just telling us when in particular that tight voice happens? Is Les there?
Yeah, I think my question, particularly in lockdown when I'm working at home, obviously typically I'd be in an office 2 to 3 days and you've got a bit more movement and probably face-to-face conversations, but I'm finding I wake up in the morning, my voice is generally okay, quite relaxed. As like this morning's been fairly typical. I've had 2 video calls. I've been working on a laptop. I think this might come back to your first point, and I've read it in your recent book about, I think you call it text neck.
Yes. Where
we naturally hold our breath and texting, and I might do that on the computer, but by probably by midday, and you can start to hear my voice now, I literally sometimes pick up a phone, I can't talk. The voice has got so tight, it feels like I have to drag the words out. So just sitting up straight and a couple of deep breaths doesn't reverse that. I guess you call it damage almost, but it seems to take a lot more effort to get back to that normal voice. Is that normal?
It's a really good question, and you're so not alone. I've heard this from quite a few people in the last few weeks. So can we just check the height of your screen first? So it is slightly back to that first point. Can I get you to lift your laptop up a little bit higher?
Yeah, I've got an iPad because the laptop doesn't accept Zoom, unfortunately. So,
so can you approximate where the laptop would be?
It's probably, maybe 10, 15 degrees below eye level, the top of these. I am looking down slightly, actually, at the
So the first thing would be get it up to eye level as much as possible. Now, if I show you, I have actually invested in a stand. There you go. A laptop stand, because I'm doing this standing up. And I mean, I heard of someone using an ironing board, so you don't have to be high tech on this one. But anything, if you are going to be speaking all day, in the office, what you would be doing is having a call, moving around, walking downstairs, getting a coffee, going across to someone else's office. We're much more mobile. What happens to me at home is I'm sure the same as what you're experiencing. You can sit down at 10:30 and be there for 4 or 5 hours if you're not careful. So our backs tense up, our shoulders tense up, the diaphragm, which we're going to talk about in a moment, becomes a bit fixed. We end up breathing into the upper chest. The voice has less power, so we push the larynx more. Our jaw maybe tenses up and the whole thing gets tight. When it gets tight, we hack away at the larynx. And if you clap your hands, everybody, I know it's a funny thing to do. If you clap your hands really fast for a moment, can you feel how they start to get a bit sore? And if we went on for 2 minutes, they would really start to get sore. That's what we're doing to the larynx when we're putting the work here. So Les, can I get you to stand up? And would other people mind standing? Anybody who wants to can stand up, basically.
Okay. Yeah.
And these are a couple of things I want you to do if you notice your voice getting tense. So the first thing is, let's just do a big stretch. And just stretch over one side. Only do this if your back will allow. If you have any kind of rib or back injury, take it easy. And then stretching the other way. And you can do this sitting in a chair as well. And then just, again, only if your neck will allow it. Take your left hand and put it to your right ear. And just stretch. There's a muscle that goes from the ear to the sternum. It's called the sternocleidomastoid. Long name. Just give that muscle a stretch. And then swap sides. Very nice. And then just shake out your hands. And imagine that you have a book on your head, so your spine is really, really long. Okay? Just that will help your system. It'll help your voice. Now, the other thing that's really good to do, and this is not pretty, so I apologize, is to yawn. So can everybody, you can put your hand over your mouth if you want to, but I'm not going to. I've got no manners. Let's just do a big open yawn. And then just say the days of the week on that yawn. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Sunday.
Can you feel that you've got a bit more space there, Les, for voice?
It's better already, and I think it becomes a confidence thing as well, which I think exacerbates the problem. When you feel your voice tightening, there's a confidence issue that you can't talk, and I think that anxiety comes through as well and tightens everything up as well. So if you can start to release it, it kind of quickly gets better. But
the body's a really good breaker for the system. If you feel the voice starts to tense up, thinking our way to change vocally is really difficult. But as soon as you move and yawn, you've opened up your throat. And in fact, if you put your fingers on your windpipes just above your sternums, can you feel that? Can you feel your windpipes there? Feel that when you yawn, the windpipe widens. Ooh, can you feel that?
It's going to go like that a bit, doesn't it?
Yes, and we want to feel that width, that space. Because if I get tight and tense and closed down, then that space gets tighter, and then I start to hack away here and it all gets a bit exhausting. Just sit up, stretch, yawn, open up that space, and your voice will wake back up again. The other thing is drink water, because the voice is part of the whole system, and if we forget to drink water, your voice will dry out like everything else. So just have a big jug of water by your desk and keep swigging.
Okay.
I would also suggest, you know, if you can take meetings standing up, that's going to really help. And it might be not all of them are on camera, because then you can go for a walk and have a meeting.
Yeah, I've been finding video calls a lot more tiring than audio calls, so we have started to mix it up a bit. Where we know people quite well, we don't need to see each other all the time. I find an audio call, you can walk around you, right, and it's just less tiring generally, because you feel like you're on stage on video.
Exactly. So maybe just think, what would I have had as a face-to-face meeting in the old days? And that might well be a video call. If you would just have had a phone call, then have a phone call. And that will help you. If the more you can move, the better. But I think the height of your laptop is going to make a big difference as well. Does that help?
That's been a huge help. Thanks, Caroline. I need to go and buy a keyboard though, because I haven't got a keyboard. I use
Or a big couple of dictionaries would do it. Good stuff. Thank you. So, Antonia, where do you want to go next?
I was wondering if maybe we expand on that, Caroline, with Isabel's question about diaphragm
Yes.
breathing.
Right, I'm going to show you a picture of a diaphragm, because there's a nice one in the book. Because the best way to think about the diaphragm is to look at it. So can you see, there's a nice lady on screen there. Can you see that you've got your lungs and you've got your heart tucked away in the rib cage, and then just sitting below your lungs is a big flat muscular sheet. It's not entirely muscle, but muscles is clearly involved, and it's there beneath your diaphragm. And it's the main power source of voice. The lungs themselves don't have any muscle. Let's take a thumb, okay? And I'm going to stick my thumb at that point. It's easiest to find. Can you feel where the sternum finishes, where this part where the ribs are joined, just below that part where you start to get into the floating ribs? Can you feel, if I there you go, there, bit of an illustration. Just stick your thumb in there. That's a good point of attachment for your diaphragm. And it goes around your body. It cuts you in half. And as you breathe in, it moves down like a jellyfish. And as you breathe out, it rises. So it's a really cool pump for your voice. So just put a hand on your tummy and breathe out. We always breathe out first. So just blow out air. Wait for the in-breath and feel it move your diaphragm. Can everybody feel your tummy move away from your spine? Just blow the air out again. Let the breath come in like that lovely smell of lavender. And if you put your hands on your back ribs, the back ribs are really important, because if the ribs swing out, there's freedom, there's space for the diaphragm to move. So let's just do that one more time. Let the breath go. And then let it come in. Feel the ribs open. Now, that was, whose question was that? Isabel, where are you?
Yeah, hi.
Hello, hello. Tell me a bit about your diaphragm and how it works for you, and what particular questions you have about it.
Yeah, so I've practiced it before, like you just said, and I also do yoga, so I feel I kind of understand the breath work. It's just combining it with the speaking. I feel like I just kind of forget.
Yes,
all about it.
You're so normal, and it took me years to get this, really, and I didn't need to take years. I just needed someone to point out the core facts. Can I get you, Isabel, can I see your body? Is that all right? Can you lower your screen a bit or raise your screen? I'm never quite sure.
Hold it up, or?
That's perfect. Good. That's lovely. And now, can I get you to say the days of the week? Would you be all right to do that in front of the group?
Yeah.
Is that
Sure.
okay?
Yeah.
So first I want you just, and we can all do this with Isabel. So just breathe out first. Let the breath go. Wait for the breath in. And when you've got it, say Monday.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Feel like I ran out a bit at the end.
Can I get you to tap that point that we touched?
Mm.
Base of the, just where the floating ribs start to kick in. Can I get you to tap that as you speak? We can all do that with Isabel to make her feel better. Okay, let's go. So it'll feel a bit like that. Should we go 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to tap Monday. Go for it. Really tap, honestly. Be silly, everybody. We'll do it with Isabel.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
And can I get you to do what we did with Les, Isabel? Can I get you to put your fingers on that windpipe there?
Yeah.
And so you're going to be tapping and yawning. Is that a bit too much all at once?
Oh, I'm holding up my screen, so yeah. I have one hand.
Don't worry about the screen. Just leave the screen. If I've seen what you're up to now, so
I'll put it back down.
So fingers on windpipe, big yawn. And then tap out the yawn if that doesn't seem too silly. Go for it. That's it. And maybe just do the yawn and pull the yawn out of your mouth. Go. Lovely. Can you feel the sound is being carried on an exhaled column of air? Can you feel that?
Yeah.
Play with that a few more times. Do me three more yawns rather. And then just say, hello, my name's Isabel, with that feeling of yawning the sound out.
Hello, my name is Isabel.
Can I get you to imagine that you're drunk? You've had 3 glasses of something lovely. Hello.
Hello, my name is Isabel.
That's more diaphragmatic. So the thing I would get you to play with, Isabel, yawn in the mornings and sing. Do you ever sing?
Yeah, sometimes.
Before you have any kind of presentation, spend 10, 15 minutes. I've been doing that this morning. I mean, I sound terrible, but it doesn't matter because it just frees up your voice and then you'll let go of it. We put the bottleneck in when we think I need to have a good voice or I need to sound this way. And then we kind of put the work in from our brains. When actually you've been singing and yawning and your voice is free and loose, it's so much easier. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So you'll start to feel that power source low down, and that's your diaphragm. There's an exercise in the book pointing you to exercises, which was the really the big one for me to find your diaphragm, which is that. Lie down on a chair. I love what Victoria did with this chap. This is her boyfriend. He's so Brixton. He's just brilliant with his beard. You lie down on a chair, you put your hand on your tummy, and you feel that as you breathe in, the tummy lifts, and as you breathe out, the tummy drops. And if you do that for 5-10 minutes every day, A, you sleep better if you do it at night, and B, you start to really find your diaphragm. And if you take a thick book and put it on your tummy, you can feel the breath lift up as the diaphragm drops, and you can feel the tummy go down as the diaphragm lifts. So you really feel the movement, and you start to feel that your body's like a big pump. Whereas I remember when I started out, I just felt like my voice was stuck up here and there wasn't really any kind of pump. So you just have to loosen up and get a sense of what's happening in your ribs, within the torso, and where the power source is. Okay?
Yeah.
So
great.
easy to find if you practice, but we really do have to practice. It's like driving lessons. Alexander technique is brilliant for this as well, by the way. Good, Antonia.
Yes, Edwina and Gronya both had questions about sort of slowing down, feeling that they talk too fast, and again, pacing themselves, not rushing through things.
Good. Hello, Edwina. Hello, Gronya. How are you doing? Edwina, can I go to you first? Tell me, where do you feel yourself rushing?
I suppose when it was like a call like this, if you're trying to make a point, you just find that sometimes I can just rush in and say something really quickly, and it just doesn't have the impact that you'd like it to have because I've just rushed it rather than taking deliberate pauses along the way. But you know, sometimes you just want to get a point across and make sure somebody hears it, that I just rush in.
And it's your lovely Irish accent as well, isn't it? It's that, and it's that there is something, without generalizing a whole nation, there is something in some accents where it's like the Italians as well. There's a pace, there's a speed, and if you don't go fast, someone will interrupt you, and that's going to be true in certain situations. Is that a terrible generalization about the whole nation? It's something.
No, absolutely, yeah.
It is something I notice. So there's something about giving yourself permission to be slow, because in meetings, people are not going to interrupt in the same way. So can we all take an imaginary brick? I've put an imaginary brick on your desks. Can you pick it up for me, please? Edwina, can you take yours? And can I get you to say the days of the week? And when we get to Wednesday, we're going to do this. I'm going to get my brick in shot. There we go. So we're going to say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Okay, placing our brick. We all got our bricks? We ready? Quite heavy. Let's go for it. Edwina, you got your brick?
Yeah.
Go for it. Okay, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Close mouth. Let the breath come in. Thursday, Friday. We're going to put one on Sunday, Saturday, Sunday. Edwina, can I get you to do that solo? Is that okay?
Okay, I'm sorry, I don't understand kind of what to do with the brick. Is it to put it aside or just to hold it up?
Keep the brick and just put it, so when we get to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, place it really firmly, because that's giving you more air pressure. So it forces you to stop because you've run out of air, basically.
Okay.
So go for it.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Can I get you
Thursday,
to push the brick
Friday.
even more? Give the brick real welly. Wednesday. Go for it one more time.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Lovely. I liked the welly on the brick. After that, close your mouth and give yourself a moment. Let the breath come back in. What's your favorite smell?
Chocolate.
Oh, yeah, I go with that. So just breathe in a smell of really lovely chocolate when you get to Wednesday. Okay? Go for it.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Breathe the chocolate.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
That's it. One more time, last time, with maybe without the brick, but just feeling the chocolate, smelling the chocolate.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Lovely. Smell the chocolate.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Perfect. What do you feel mainly when you do that? What's the thing you notice?
I'm slowing myself down, even in thought, because I have to watch what I'm doing. Yeah.
That's it. So here's the thing, right? So voice is breath. There's a scientist called Antonio Damasio he does the science of consciousness, no biggie, right? And he says that voice is interesting because breath is unconscious. It's like your heartbeat. It just happens. It happens when you're asleep. But voice is conscious because we have to think about what we say, believe it or not. So when I contain and control my breath as a speaker, that's a conscious route into the unconscious. So this is massive. It means that if you know how to put the pauses in and to breathe diaphragmatically, you are calming down the unconscious part of the nervous system. You're making it feel safe. So putting the pauses in is not cosmetic. It's also really ramping down your nervous system, which will make it then easier to pause because you're calmer. So you just consciously have to put the first few pauses in and your system slows down. It's in a really cool book called The Feeling of What Happens by Antonio Damasio. It's not recent, but it's so interesting. I mean, slightly above my head, but when he got to breathing and voice, I was there. Does that help, Edwina? It's nice to see you, by the way. It's been ages.
Okay. Thank you.
Good. And now there was, Antonio, there was another question, wasn't there?
Grania had the same. So Grania had the same question around pacing as well.
Grania, hello. How are you doing? Did that make some sense? Just to.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you, Karen. It was interesting. I don't have the Irish accent that Edwina has, but I was brought up in Ireland, and I think perhaps we're all in that boat. We're all probably competing to get heard. So there's a slightly, I think there's a slightly cultural thing to do that. So I know that I do speak too quickly, and I have to consciously slow myself down. So everything so far has helped with that.
Good. And what I would say is that this is not me saying to everyone, I want you to speak really slowly, because that's not it, is it? It's saying you can have that pace, you can have that lovely energy, which God, I love in Ireland, but just give yourself some full stops, so that it's a kind of, it's like going to see the ballet or something, isn't it? It's like watching a great dancer. You can have these incredible flourishes of energy, and then there's stillness. And that's what works for speaking, because then it's not just, it's contained. It's not
interesting, actually, because just on that, I always noticed there was a friend, particularly in the mum's group when my children were little, and she spoke quite slowly, and she always managed to sort of get everyone to listen to her. And I always thought it was quite strange that she was one that spoke the slowest, but yet she got everyone's attention. And even just with just saying a couple of words to start with, whereas I was like battling to get heard. So I don't know how that works.
Voice and nervous system are so connected that if we get, because for years I wasn't like this, so no, I was always like this. And when I got a sense of my voice and how to center myself, you find that it's easier to pull people into you, especially if you're an introvert and you can't do that big extrovert thing. By being still and being calm, you can pull people in with a different kind of energy. And people like Obama, the Obamas, and perhaps Michelle is more of an extrovert, but I suspect he's quite introverted. And there were lots of people on that list who are introverts who have charisma. So finding a stillness, a center, is a lovely way to pull others in. And maybe, I wonder if that's what she was doing or is doing.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Good stuff.
Thank you.
And apologies for saying that the whole of Ireland speaks fast, because I know they don't.
Karen, moving on, there's a sort of a small cluster of questions which are sort of about coming back once you've made once you feel like you've made a glitch. Tatiana asked about how to pivot with humour. Minnie was asking about how you handle it when your mind goes blank. And then Antonio was saying that sometimes he feels that he's sort of not being relevant or being a bit random. So I think all those sort of speak to me about sort of a way of thinking, and again trying to streamline and align that back.
Great one. Thank you, Antonio. So, okay, first rule, and this is something I learned when I interviewed those actors. It came from Ewan McGregor, actually. He said he was once in a show at the Donmar Warehouse, which is a lovely theatre in London. And he was in a musical. And he walked out on stage and he forgot his lines. He dried in the middle of a song. He couldn't ring it. It's even worse in a song because you can't improvise, can you? And he said the cast helped him out. They kind of helped finish off the song for him. And he walked off stage and he was just, tortured. And we've all felt like that. I have felt like that as a speaker. When you make a mistake on stage, you just feel so embarrassed. Anybody not felt that? It's human. But Douglas Hodge, who was in the play with him, sat him down and said, look, you're in live theatre. Anything live is by definition imperfect. Anything you do live, there is going to be error. There's going to be things that don't quite happen the way you planned. You might make mistakes. You just have to put your arms around the mistake and take it in and be okay with it. Now that requires that you are centered and relaxed. If you're adrenal, then we catastrophize it. We make it seem terrible. So the first thing I would say is, if you are doing something on stage, if you are going blank in that moment, just come back to your feet, feel your feet on the floor or your bum on the chair if you're sitting, breathe out, wait for the breath in, nice relaxed chocolate or lavender breath, and just say to yourself, it's okay. And perhaps have a smile on your face, maybe think to yourself, lighten up. And that's the point, to maybe make a joke about it. And then once you've stewarded your nervous system and said, it's okay, which is what you would say to a friend, then go on. But what people do in that moment is they stop breathing. You go, I've made a mistake, I hold my breath, and then then it's a disaster. So that's the first thing, is if the worst thing happens, ground feet, breathe out, wait for the breath in, own it. Antonio, can I ask you, where is Antonio? Hello, Antonio. Where do you notice yourself saying random things? I mean, we all do. I've said a few random things today, probably. Where's Antonio? Can I ask you? Or do you want to write it in chat? That's totally okay. Introverts.
Yeah. I can just see a blank screen there. I'm not sure if he stepped away.
Oh, he's maybe stepped away.
Yeah.
So if to people who feel like they're saying random things, I would say practice it, put the pauses in, and when you speak, think about audience, focus on audience. Because when we get too wordy is usually when we're too adrenal and we're not thinking about audience. And if in doubt, check, which is why I'm talking to you a lot, because I want to know what you want and what you're getting. I've missed one. There was one extra part of that question that I've missed.
So there was, Minnie was asking about mind going blank. Tatiana asked about pivoting with humour, which you kind of touched on.
So with humour, when it comes to humour, Tatiana, are you there? Can I ask you?
Yes, I'm right here.
Hi, Tatiana. So when does this happen? Nice to see you. What happens that you would need to be humorous or to pivot?
I think the skill I'm working on specifically is I don't mind making a mistake, and I'm pretty good about, you need to pivot, just keep it moving, or just accept that you made a mistake. But what I'd love to be able to do is, in the moment, say something a little entertaining about the mistake. So humor comes to me like 10 hours later. I think, oh, I should have said that. That would have been funny. But trying to think in the exact moment, and maybe there isn't a short answer to this question, but being able to say something that's light and entertaining to keep things moving when you've made a mistake or just started going off on a tangent.
Well, I think my sense of you is that you have a natural sense of humor. Is that fair to say? You've got a spark.
Well, somebody once told me, who I think is very funny, said to me, "You're not necessarily funny, you're entertaining, but usually when you don't mean to be."
Oh. I would take that as a compliment, because I think you've got a kind of a sense of humor and the absurd. I can see it in your eyes. So what I would say is, if this happens, you need to pivot, pause, take a moment, come back to feet on floor, air on face, really make your system safe, and then see what comes out. Because I think humor is best when we're relaxed, which is why it's coming back to you later. So what if you find a moment to really relax yourself on stage and see what comes? The other thing stand-up comedians would say is rehearse what you might do if things go wrong. So when I worked on my TEDx, I had a lovely coach called Chris Head, and we worked on what happens if this happens. What happens if the audience don't reply when you ask a question? What happens if when you ask for a volunteer, nobody comes? And that stand-up comedian strategy of planning what to do with heckles is also really helpful, because it means that you can then come up with some really fast responses in the moment. So I really recommend to everybody, work with stand-up comedy directors, go and do stand-up comedy classes. Terrifying, but such a good thing to learn.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. And can I say one other comment that really struck me from something you said before?
Go for it, please do. Yeah.
When you were making the point about how can I help, where it's being of service to the audience, it actually made me think also that if in that moment of nervousness or heightened adrenal activity, if you say to yourself, how can I help? It's also, how can I help myself?
Yes.
So I thought that it's a dual purpose question. How can I help my audience? But also in that moment, what do I need to do to help myself?
I think that's lovely. It's like putting your oxygen mask on first, isn't it? It's a really good point. And for your nervous system, there's no distinction. It's oxytocin.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Great. I love that. Thank you, Tatiana. I hope that helps.
Yes,
I
it's such a
do
pleasure to
find-
meet you, by the way. I'm
Lovely to meet you.
a big fan. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Now, Antonio, I'm really conscious of time, so just let me know what you want.
So there's just a couple more, but I think I just wanted to check in that they've been answered. Tamsin was sort of like, how you position yourself, but I think you've really addressed that with the setup. And then Caroline again asked where to look on Zoom.
Ooh, good question.
So I wonder if we close on that one while eyeballing everyone.
So it's very much, now I'm not the best at this, is the first thing to say, but it's very much, my Mac has a green light. What a film star would say is hit your mark, look at the camera, and anything you can do to encourage yourself to look at that little green light is good. But the main thing I would say is that if you have set up your stage, do you remember how we talked about putting the books under your laptop or getting a stand? If you're standing up and not hunched over like this, then you will naturally probably be looking in the right direction. The other thing is switch off the alerts, switch off the emails, the texts. Probably one will come in now just to embarrass me, because all of that will take your attention down here, and then you can just see someone else not looking at you and thinking about their email. It's very unhelpful. So look at the camera, stand up straight, center your voice, own the Zoom.
That's great, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you for all the fabulous questions. It was so lovely to have it interactive. So thank you, Louise, and thank you, Antonia, for brilliant facilitating. I've had a blast.
Don't forget, the book is available, and if you have bought the book, email me and I can send you the email address to get the additional audio content. I'd like to say a massive thank you for Caroline for supporting our community. We couldn't do these things without the support we get from everyone. Our plants are moving back in this afternoon to our space. We are hoping to reopen soon, but we will be online definitely until September. So if you aren't currently part of the Curious Lounge but would like to be, and Tatiana, thank you for joining. Was it New York? Our first international visitor, so
very close. New Jersey.
So yes, so we are open to an international audience if anyone wants to come and play. But Caroline, thank you, and if we could all just say thank you to Caroline.
Oh, thank you all to you.
Yeah, thank you, Caroline.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You've made it really fun and interactive. So bless you for that, for all of you. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Enjoy the book.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.